Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're doing another interview with a long-term expat from the US that moved to Albania a few years ago. Paul, welcome.
Hello.
Before we get started, please follow, subscribe, like, stay tuned for all the stories we're bringing you about life in Albania. All right, so Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself, what life was like in the US, and kind of who you are.
I'm 58 years old. I am not retired, but I own my own digital photo editing company and um, work online. I first came to Saranda 4 years ago, almost exactly. I had been in the States. I had lived in Europe 30 years prior for a year and a half in Italy and Holland, and had always said, "Oh, I'm going to retire to Europe someday." Um, and it never happened. I just lived my life in the U.S. In 2018, my last grandparent died. I had been the grandchild that always took him, doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, always,
Right.
visiting. And then a year and a half later, my 17-year-old cat passed away. And I owned my own home in Connecticut. So, I had regular life responsibilities. And when Prince died, the cat, it hit me like within a week. I didn't have anybody relying on me anymore. I didn't, have any dependence. I had family, of course, but they're all younger sisters and my stepmother and stuff, and they're all doing fine. I'm not a necessity as far as they didn't rely on me for anything. So I thought, what do I want to do with my life? At the time, I was 54 years old, and what did I want to do for Paul? And I said, yeah, hey, why don't I go back to Europe, finally? So then it was where? In the 30 years since I had lived there, I realized I couldn't afford to retire to Italy. So one day I was on YouTube and I watched walking tours where they have the camera on their chest,
Yeah.
and they walk through a town or whatever. And I said, someplace affordable on the sea, on the Mediterranean. This isn't the Mediterranean, it's the Ionian Sea, but close enough. And I saw a video for Saranda. I said, never heard of this place. Watched it and said, I could totally live there. I could totally, actually not live there. I could visit there. Because at the time, I was selling my house in Connecticut and I didn't want to be tied down yet.
I get that.
But I was looking for places to go, especially for the winter, the first winter of 21. And so I came here. This is my first, I went to visit my sister who was working in Germany at the time and had already booked an Airbnb here for October, the month of October. Came here, loved it. I mean, yes, at the time there was even more litter, like on the beaches and stuff. Not everywhere, but you'll see piles of plastic bottles and stuff. And I was like, the walking tour had prepared me for that, so I wasn't surprised. I knew at that time half the things would be closed, the restaurants and things like that. So I had no surprises when I got here, except for the fact of how beautiful it is, the scenery, and how nice the people were. That really surprised me.
Everybody's so kind here.
Yep.
It's been shocking to us. I mean, yeah, you hear this online, but like to actually get here and see the warm welcome that you get, especially as an American. I think the Albanian people are very warm to everyone, but they light up when they find out you're an American. Unlike a lot of European countries I've been to.
Exactly. Also, I don't know in your experience, in mine, if you make the tiniest effort, the slightest effort to say good morning or thank you in Albanian, that really warms them up to you.
Oh yeah.
Really does. It's dramatic.
Yeah, you can put a big smile on the most stoic old man in town.
Yes.
Like if you just say good morning in Albania.
Yes, agreed. So stayed here a month, loved it, and left, and went on my grand tour, basically of the Balkans and Turkey.
Okay.
With an interlude in Spain for the winter, January and February. And stayed away for a year and a half, just touring Europe and Turkey. Went back home for a visit, came back to Europe, went to Spain again for that winter, and then said, where should I go after Spain in March? And I said, oh yeah, Saranda. And came back here and immediately was like, why did I wait a year and a half? Why? I forgot how much I really enjoyed it here. Stayed like 5 months that time. Left, went on more, tours around. And then that coming winter of 23, Spain got too expensive for me. I can't overstate how nice it is to come here, stay on the sea, and pay a ridiculously low rent compared to what you would pay in, Spain or Italy.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
And then the third time I came here, halfway through my time here, I was like, what am I doing? Why am I, paying rent all the time? Bulgaria and Romania that winter went Schengen. Okay. And those were the two other places that I really enjoyed enough to, I think we all fantasize. I don't know about you guys, but when I go somewhere, usually I end up being like, oh, I could live here. Yeah. A lot of the places, not every place, but a lot of them. And Bulgaria, Romania, and here were actual real possibilities. I could really see myself settling down. Those other two went Schengen, and I was like, and they didn't guarantee residency if you bought a property.
Okay.
It's a possibility, but they didn't guarantee it. Here, you're almost guaranteed to have residency if you buy a property and you fill out the proper paperwork.
Right.
Okay. So that really helped me make a decision. And the fact that buying something on the seacoast, I think as an investment is much better than doing it in the mountains. Yeah. So anyhow, I ended up looking around, and I had a firm budget. And of course, the agents here at the agencies disregarded it. Everything was 20,000 over what I stated. I was like, my absolute limit is this, and they would find me something 10, 15,000 over. So finally, I have a really good Albanian friend who owns a taxi agency here, and he's like, why don't you use what we would use? And Sam can probably add the link afterwards in the description of the video, but it's basically the Albanian Craigslist, Mera.jp.
Yeah.
And they have everything. It's like Craigslist. And they also have apartments and villas and stuff for sale or for rent, and you can choose which city. So I looked around, found a couple in Saranda, and actually went with a friend of mine to look at one that she found on that website. She looked at it and she hated it. I looked at it with her as an accessory to her, and I loved it. So I made an appointment to come back and look at it later in that week. Still loved it, and said, let me try it one more time at a different time of the day, see what it's like in the evening or whatever. Loved it. Made an offer for $1,000 below what they were asking, and immediately the offer was accepted.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was a little nerve-wracking buying something in a foreign country. I'll give you that. Americans cannot get a mortgage here, so you have to have the full amount of the purchase available to you. But anyhow, it was a fairly fast process. I'd say April 20th or so, I made the offer. It was accepted, and I owned the apartment, had the deed, which is called a hipotekë here, in about 6 or 7 weeks.
Okay.
Then came the fun part, remodeling.
Yeah, tell us about that.
There was nothing in the apartment, no kitchen cabinets, no sink. The bathroom was the only thing that was almost workable, except it had no hot water heater. It had one in a box in the apartment, but it wasn't. No curtains, nothing, no light fixtures in the ceilings, just empty wires. Anyhow, everything, Sam, everything from a welcome mat to forks to light fixtures to sheets to placemats to tables to beds, everything. Kitchen cabinets included in sink and stove, €6,000.
That's awesome.
Everything, including labor.
That's crazy. Like, I think it's really hard for people from the States or like a lot of countries to understand the labor costs here and how low they are comparatively to like a contractor in the US. Like, they won't walk in your house for $6,000.
The kitchen was $1,500, and that's from the guys coming out to measure the kitchen, to making the cabinets over this other side of the mountain, and installing them. It was $1,500.
And when was that?
Only about a year and 8 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So it hasn't been that long, and you could probably still furnish it's a one-bedroom apartment, by the way. You could probably still do what I did for fairly close to the amount.
That's awesome. Yeah. We've had a lot of people trying to decide what they want to do when they arrive in Albania, if they want to buy a property, if they want to rent, and I think this is really useful for people to understand because so many of the expats that we know rent, including us. So, like this is really important information that people are very curious about.
I want to stress this for your viewers. I'm not that guy. I don't have any money, folks. I had a nest egg from selling my house in America and used some of that to purchase my apartment. My apartment was 54,000 euros, so less than $60,000, I think. I have a view of the sea and of the island of Corfu, and it's a fabulous view. And even Albanians are like, how the hell did you get this for that price? By using that website, that, Albanian Craigslist. My building is 17 years old, so I wasn't looking for a brand new build. And as I told you, it had nothing in it. It was zero. So you have to be willing to compromise a bit to get a good price. You can even get stuff slightly higher up the mountains behind us, folks. 1 or 2 streets up off the first road, we call it. And the prices will drop as you go up each street. And you'll still get a sea view maybe on the 5th road, for example, for $70,000 for a 1-bedroom.
So how long did it take to finish the apartment?
I made the offer for the apartment. I had the hipotekë in my hand at the end of April. That's the deed. I was able to move in to the apartment like June 20th. So 6 weeks.
That's
6 weeks to do
very
the
fast.
purchase, 6 weeks to remodel the place.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I think the kitchen was done in about, from measuring to installation was about 4 weeks.
That, again, kind of inconceivable coming from the U.S.
Yeah.
You don't get anything done that fast. What should people know before they make a property purchase?
It's much safer to do it now. 5 years ago or something, there was a lot of people buying properties here, especially apartments, and those apartments didn't have a deed, which is called a hipotekë here. And things have been implemented since then, laws and regulations. All newer properties have a hipotekë. And you can check this out before you make an offer on a property. I checked, mine had, a legal owner, a legal
Right.
deed. So never buy something. If they're saying they're getting a hipotekë, don't do it, folks. Only if they already have one filed at the city hall. That's my big advice.
Did you obviously had to use a notary in closing. Did you engage an attorney or anything else for support?
I didn't engage an attorney. You have to use the real estate agent of the seller here.
Okay.
Okay. So you can't use yours and theirs. You have to use theirs. The notary, however, is independent. Okay. And instead of an escrow account, here you have a notary account, and your deposit and your down payment goes into a notary account, which the current owner can't touch until all the paperwork is delivered to you. Until you get that deed in your hot little hand, they don't get any money.
Got it.
Okay? So that's the safeguard.
That makes sense.
One thing people should know, especially Americans, when you buy a property here, you have to have proof either that you're married, widowed, divorced, or single. And as an American, how do you prove that you're single? We don't have anything that says, we don't have a card that says, I'm single. So
It's funny that you mentioned this. There was a gentleman a few weeks ago trying to get some help because his purchase paperwork for his apartment said that he was married when he was not.
ooh,
And he was trying to sell it and just discovered this. My advice here, when you're doing any kind of legal paperwork in Albania, make sure that the translator you're using with the notary is good. You trust them. They're taking time to actually explain to you what is going on. If you have any doubt, stop them and get clarification so you don't get into a situation like that.
and don't be like me. I was too lazy to actually read all of the translation. I skimmed it. You should read the translation that they supply to you. Anyhow, I had to go to the embassy in Tirana and basically go in to the embassy, and they give you a form, and it's eligibility for marriage in the state of Albania.
Okay.
And basically, I declare that I am single. I am not currently married in the United States, blah, 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 blah. And then sign it, and it gets notarized there at the embassy. And they now, around the country, they're becoming familiar with this paperwork. But when I bought my apartment, the law was 3 months old.
Okay.
That you had to have this declaration. So half the notaries here in town were like, huh? But we found one that, knew what was going on and accepted it.
Okay. Yeah. That's really good advice. That's something I had not heard before.
So it can be done, and you just go to the embassy and get a declaration of eligibility for marriage.
That's fun. So let's talk about what your life's been like here, making friends, integrating into the community.
Easy, almost too easy. There's a really bubbling expat community here. It's busy, it's chaotic at times, but also organized in a weird way. I mean, you guys do get-togethers, for example, every week. So there's also various restaurants around town, bars, where a lot of expats or immigrants meet up, and so you'll find your people. Integrating with the locals, as we already mentioned, if you make the slightest effort to speak their language, you're not going to have a hard time. They're willing to be, they're quite open to even befriending you too. It's not going to be right away, but once they see you, we were talking about this the other day. If once they see you sticking around, and you're respectful of the community, and you shop here, and you do things, and you eat out here, and you say hello, that's a big thing. When I meet eyes with somebody, if they're crossing my path, I say hello in their language. And that goes a long way here. I can't stress that enough. Make the effort to at least learn how to say hello. So I would say I have a good amount of local acquaintances, and also a handful of Albanian friends, people that I consider me a friend, and I consider them a friend.
I think we can say the same thing, and I very much agree with what you said. It's about making that little effort initially. It's about showing that you're sticking around, because in Saranda, at least, there is a lot of tourism. There is a lot of people coming and going, and the interactions that you're going to receive in the height of tourist season is way different than when an Albanian person interacts with you in December. They're like, why are you here? Oh, you're living here? Why? That's curious. Tell me more.
Yeah.
And that's been my experience, at least.
Agreed.
And then you start to click with these people, and it uncovers a whole new level of friendship.
I don't know if you guys agree. It looks like a city here, but it's really a small town.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll start seeing, people all over town, and they'll start recognizing. There's nothing I love more than, I live, I don't know if you folks can see behind us, about halfway up this coastline, behind this palm behind Sam. And my walk here takes about 12 minutes to get downtown. And there's nothing I like more than maybe having 7 or 8 different shopkeepers or a waiter at a certain restaurant, or even people walking on the sidewalk saying hello, because they know me.
Yeah.
And I know them. And it's fantastic. I love that. So you have a small town feel once you've been here for a while.
Oh, for sure. I mean, in tourist season, like, there are a lot of people, like, it does feel more like a bigger city. But as soon as you get out of, like, June, July, August, like, it's a very close-knit. Everybody sort of knows what's going on. You run into the same people. It's one of the things that we were drawn to specifically was the community aspect of Saranda. I mean, you can find community in Flore or Tirana or other cities, but you're almost kind of forced to here because of the size of the place. Like, you're not anonymous. Like, you will become known in the community.
Yeah. So, don't become known for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, we've run into a couple of those people.
Which segues maybe into something we wanted to discuss a little bit. I'm going to turn this around on you. Have you found it difficult living here freely as a gay man?
I guess what I would say about that is, like, if you treat people with respect, they reciprocate that. If you try to push your beliefs or preferences off on Albanians or anyone here, they're less receptive of that. But if you're a respectful, nice human, like, nobody cares about your sexual preferences or your religious preferences. It's not a big part of life. They just, in my experience at least, like, the Albanian people see you as a human. Like, they're very curious to get to know you and who you are. And again, if you're trying to push a belief, whatever it is, or a preference on other people, that might not be met with, like, the most welcome interaction. But coming from rural Missouri, I personally feel like, even though this is a very conservative country, and I very much respect that, like, there's also a welcomeness that I didn't really experience growing up in Missouri. Maybe that's because I'm a foreigner here, and foreigners are treated differently, for sure. I think being a gay Albanian person is a very different experience from what I've seen and learned. I mean, even if you're living here, you're still largely, in my opinion, viewed as like a foreign tourist or someone new to the country, and you're not maybe judged this. I hate to use judged, but, like,
held to
you're
the
not
same standard.
Right. There are very much different standards.
I think younger people, as the trend is mostly everywhere, I think younger people have less of a. So here's the thing: I've never had a problem with anybody here, regardless of their age. I also don't run around, saying, "Hey, I'm gay. Hey, I'm gay. Hey, I'm gay." A few of my Albanian friends know, and don't care. Nobody has ever cared.
Right.
Yes, it's a conservative country, but it's also the least conservative Muslim majority country in the world. The split is about 60-40 here for Muslim versus Christian, and the same family will have both denominations or both religions, and nobody cares. Nobody. They worked through this all, during their civil war years ago, 30 years ago, and nobody wants to get involved in that kind of mess now.
People are just generally respectful of one another. I mean, I think in the U.S. there's a lot of preconceived judgment that people have, especially with, like, the political polarization and whatnot. People, like, they want to put you in a box. And I've not experienced that here. Like, people want to get to know you first. They're curious about you, and they're not like, oh, this person looks this way, so they must be this. Like, that just doesn't happen.
Right. I can honestly say I've not had a problem. The only sort of attitude that I've heard was somebody that didn't know I was gay. We had a gay crew stop by here a couple years ago, and lots of exuberantly dressed young men parading around town for the day. And somebody here in town was basically horrified and expressed that to me, and not knowing that I was the same, as those men running around. And that's the only time I've ever heard anything specifically negative. So that's once in 4 years here.
I guess I would add, like, there is some strong opinions on the internet. If you ask, like, how am I going to be perceived as a gay person in a Facebook group, there's going to be someone that says, like, stay home, like, we don't want you here. But you're not going to find that on the street. Like, you're not going to find that with real people. There are internet trolls everywhere. As we've started this journey with YouTube, like, we get overwhelmingly positive comments from all of the Albanian viewers that we have.
I just want to add this. You'll be treated with respect as long as you're respectful as well.
Yeah.
So think about that a little bit too. And no, that doesn't mean hiding your light you're under a bushel or whatever you want to say.
Right.
But I think we've lost the idea of community, being respectful to the community in the U.S. I think we're very oriented towards ourselves. And here you have some sense of community here, not just for your people, but for the community as a whole. And in America, I feel like we've gone the way of we don't care anymore about the whole community. We only care about our specific community, and not how we fit into this whole thing as a whole.
Right.
And here you still try to adjust everything to the community that you're in here, so that we all get along peacefully.
This can be said for more than, like, being gay in Albania. Like, another point that I would make, we get some comments about, all the leftists leaving America. And the reality is, like, I've met several Republicans here too. But there's no box. There's no, oh, you're a Republican, I won't talk to you. We can't have brunch together. I mean, people sit down and coexist, like they did decades ago in the U.S. And, like, you can actually have a political discussion, even though most people would prefer not to. And you're not going to get into some, like, major fight or finger pointing or, like, I'm never going to speak to you again.
I agree, but I'm also of that ilk where when you start talking about American politics here, I personally am like, listen, I'm much happier and less stressed living here without having to listen to that from morning till night. So that's not one of the reasons I moved here, but I think it's one of the advantages of living here.
I think that's a sentiment that most Americans carry, like, regardless of where they landed on the political spectrum in the U.S.
Exactly.
They're here because they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to hear about it all of the time.
I mean, there's a few minor exceptions. One or two people I've met over the years can't seem to realize that they're over here and not at home. And that gets tiresome really quick. And you quickly weed that out of your circle of friends.
Yeah.
At least I do. It's like, if you give it a rest and enjoy the beautiful place that you live now.
I think you bring up an interesting point. Like, at least for us, we got to Saranda and we found the expat community as a whole. And then you find, like, friends within that community and friends within the native Albanian community. It's a little different. Like, when you come to a foreign place, you're sort of reliant on the other English speakers, or most people are initially, and you're introduced to a lot of different people that you may or may not like. But you don't know that until you get to know them and you get involved a little more. And you soon find that you have a good friend circle. Like, it's definitely pushed me to interact with people that, in the previous life in America, like, I would do the same thing. Like, I don't know if I want to get to know you. But here, like, everybody kind of gives everybody a chance and they figure out, like, okay, like, you naturally build your circle from
Right.
that initial expat community.
Right. Agreed. And you're not going to, I mean, this isn't some freaky, weird paradise. You're not going to love everybody here, and everybody's not going to love you.
True.
But that doesn't affect your daily life here, at least not for me.
No, not at all.
No. And again, I want to stress, it's beautiful here. It's beautiful here. It's amazingly beautiful here. So come by and visit us and see what you think. It's stunning.
So it is definitely beautiful here. And one of the things I've appreciated about you is, like, you lead the hiking group. Like, you push people to explore nature and get out of maybe just the public beach right there. Like, it, tell us about that, about, like, your experiences exploring the country and seeing the nature and beauty here that a lot of people, like, they miss initially. At least they don't know how to go do this.
So right away, there's a hiking group. It's private. It's a Facebook group. You just ask in one of the expat Facebook groups about it, and somebody will add you to the group. I don't actually lead the hikes. I've been the substitute helper leader once or twice, and it's a good way for free to get around and see some of the sites around this town. When I personally am leading a hike, I have about 3 or 4 places that I like to go, and one is the peninsula behind Sam. That's all green, and it's a nice long but level walk, and you get some beautiful views of the city from sort of like opposite the city. Then there's a hike that away, folks, and it's along the coast. That's really pretty. It's also a fairly level hike, and you also stop up at a Muslim school, basically, which is also got some beautiful viewpoints. Behind us, there's 2 peaks, and on one peak is a castle, which has stunning views down the coast, and right behind us, the peak behind us has a 1,500-year-old monastery, the ruins of it. And that's also a cute little place to explore. And it's when you see a man sitting on a lawn chair up there, that means you can go underneath the monastery, and it's $2.
Okay.
And you can sort of go in the monks' catacombs underneath it, except for $2. And those are the 4 local sort of points I like to go to. Around here, you can take either a bus, city bus, or private buses or taxi services to go to some wonderful places. About 35 minutes down the road is Butrint, which is the ruins of an ancient city, and we're talking huge, expansive ruins.
It's very cool.
Yeah, you can spend all day there, and it's got ruins from ancient Greek ruins, Byzantine ruins, Venetian castle, Roman ruins, and it's vast. It's huge, and it's like $10 and you can spend the whole day there. So that's one place, Butrint. The nearby city of Gjirokastra is a mountain town that my aunt said to me a couple years ago, that rivals any city in Tuscany. It's very pretty. It's a UNESCO heritage site.
It is gorgeous.
And it's got a huge military castle on top of it, which has got an armaments museum inside it, which is kind of cool as well. The views, again, are amazing. Everywhere in this country, there's lots of mountains, and there's lots of wonderful views from all these places. I mean, dramatic views. Permet, Korcha, Kruja, Tirana are some of the places. Theft in the far north, These are all cities that you should or could, go out and see. Some you might have to spend a couple days, viewing. But they're all accessible. They're all, to an American, they're fairly inexpensive to get to. Yeah, so come and check it out and look up online tourist cities in Albania, and you'll be pretty amazed, I think.
Yeah, I think people underestimate like the natural beauty of this country in some cases. I spoke to an American a week ago that arrived here from Corfu, and they didn't realize, like, all they'd seen was like this bay and the housing here, and they didn't realize just over the hills, like the landscape is totally different. I mean, it's much greener. There's a huge diversity throughout the country, and in both climate and the landscape. I mean, you can see anything, and that's something like I've really appreciated about Albania is like getting out and exploring. This prompts me to come back and ask you though, like, did you explore living anywhere else in Albania, or was it just like Saranda? I looked at Saranda, I came to Saranda, and I stayed in Saranda.
I have to be honest, I don't think I seriously considered living elsewhere, only because of the ease of access to Corfu, which is a 30-minute ferry ride. So it's 30 minutes to Greece. It's on the sea, so I guess my other choices would have been some of the other towns on the Albanian Riviera. And I went to Durrës, and I found it too industrial, which I believe you guys said the same thing.
Exactly.
To me, it reminded me of Genoa in Italy, a very big industrial port. Vlora, I like it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's pretty cool. I think it was too big for me. Confession, I'm from a village of 11,500 people in Connecticut. So this town is 40,000. So that's huge to me. This was more in my comfort level, I think. Although my town in Connecticut doesn't have this view. So to answer your question, no, I don't think I seriously considered living elsewhere. There's places I thought, if I was a millionaire, I would love to have a holiday home elsewhere here in this country. Have you guys been to Korcha?
Yeah.
Okay, so 20 minutes outside of Korcha is a future ski resort. Remember this, folks. Vaskopoja. And it's green and lush and beautiful, and mountains all around it, and lots of Byzantine churches. And it hasn't really been discovered yet. And that's a place where I thought I would totally love to have an old-fashioned stone house here.
Right.
Yeah. So remember that, folks. 10 years from now, that place is going to be a ski resort.
So tell us how you've seen Albania evolve since you've been here, and what your opinion on the future is.
Locally, the biggest change, and it happens every year more and more. The first year I was here, many things were closed in October. Like, I got here October 1st, and by October 3rd, like, half the things that were open 2 days before were closed. But the town still had probably, 40 to 50% of things were open as far as grocery stores and restaurants, which doesn't sound like an awful lot. The next time I came, it was probably 60% of the things stayed open. Last year, I'd say 65 to 70. In certain parts of town, like here in the center, or within 10 minutes each way of the center, I'd say now the majority of things stay open all winter long. As you get to the edges of these neighborhoods, no. So I saw, for example, somebody saying, "Oh, you should get an apartment out, over by the river." Do not do that in the winter.
Yeah.
You'll have one grocery store open and 0 restaurants. But going out to around Bougainville on that side and halfway through Kodra on the other side, the majority of things are open all winter long. You'll have no problem finding a grocery store or a pharmacy or whatever.
People ask us a lot about grocery stores and pharmacies, and I don't think you can stress enough.
Pharmacies are everywhere.
They're everywhere. There are little markets everywhere. So, yeah, it sounds shocking, 50% of the markets might close, but, like, literally within our block, there are 3 markets.
And
3 pretty good sized markets.
And over here, again, within 10 minutes of the center on either side, the majority of things stay open now in the winter.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a problem. Zero.
I mean, some businesses do. Like, I've noticed one of my favorite restaurants, they were open way longer last year. They closed a week ago. Ooh. And they had they were having some staffing challenges. But what I heard was, we're going to reopen sooner.
Oh.
So
okay.
I think people are evolving a little bit, at least what I've seen. They're, taking a break, shutting down for a while. I mean, this is, like, Saranda specifically is very tourism driven. The businesses make most of their money during the summer, and they work around the clock. So this is another perspective. Like, these people need a break. Like, you need a break when you've worked 7 days a week, like 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah. And you'll find that a lot of things will close for a month or even 2 months right now. Yeah. And then they'll open up before Christmas when the Christmas market starts and stuff. Then they'll open back up. And like Sam said, they've been working 7 days a week for 4 months. They need the time off. But again, there's plenty open. There's plenty open. You're not going to starve. You're not going to not get your prescriptions. That's not going to happen.
It's a fully functioning town year round.
Yeah.
So what do you see happening in the next few years? I mean, Albania is talking about joining the EU. There's a lot of investment. Eddie Rama just promoted a couple of weeks ago, like, hey, foreigners, now's a good time to buy real estate in Albania.
I agree with him on that. So there's some friends of mine that have been hemming and hawing for a couple of years about, should I buy? Yes, because in my opinion, even if there's a real estate market crash, nothing is going to go dramatically down, because the other part about Albanians are they're incredibly stubborn, and they're going to hold on to that property, and even for 5 years until it goes back up. So you're not going to ever come in here, I think, and find a fire sale on apartments. So my advice is find something you like or love. In my opinion, you should always get something you love. And when you find that place and you're like, you feel it, you're like, this is home, buy it.
I guess I would only add, from my perspective, make sure you do love it. Don't necessarily come to Albania, come to Saranda, and day 2 find a realtor and buy a property. Not saying that you can't and you won't love it, but make sure you experience the town, the lifestyle, the environment before you jump right in. Like, we know a lot of expats that have been here for 2 or 3 years, and they've been in 3 or 4 apartments, and many of them have bought at this point, but they definitely took a little bit of time to try it. And I think that's probably sage advice for most people.
I agree. I've seen a couple instances where people have come here specifically to buy an investment property, and barely spent, I know, for example, some people that barely spent a week here and bought something. And it's like, if you have that kind of money, great. But for me, I'd be more cautious. But as far as where do I see this going here, I think it's going to continue to grow. I think tourism is going to continue to grow here. The world's a scary place, so I don't want to really, guarantee things. But I think eventually it will join the EU, for example. How that will affect life here, that'll be interesting to see. I don't think it'll be detrimental, but I think it'll add a lot of spice to the European Union.
Yeah.
And I think if you do buy something here, I think you'll get your money's worth, for sure. Although I have to say, this is still a developing economy, and it's a developing country, and it's a developing city. Yes, it's in Europe. Yes, Greece is right next door. But this city in particular has grown so rapidly that the infrastructure is still catching up. And every year it's better and better and better. So, the water system is catching up. The electric system is catching up. All kinds of things like that. The road system is catching up. I mean, when I came here, So you did remind me. So when I came here 4 years ago, half the streets here were gravel, even right here, and they're paved now.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
And it's like, what? You know,
How did you do that
right,
fast?
right. In 4 years, this whole town is now paved, basically, up to a certain point up these mountains behind us. And like I said, when I got here, they were gravel roads. So that's been one of the huge dramatic changes. And where I live, you know, I pointed out back that way. I don't have any problems with uh, rolling blackouts or whatever like that.
People talk a lot about this on the internet specifically. They're like, beware of all the power outages and the water outages, and I can say, like, we really haven't experienced that. I remember like 2 power outages for a few hours in the last year.
In the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is that something people really need to worry about, in your opinion?
I don't believe so. I mean, I'm sure, yes, it would be a horrible inconvenience if you had a Zoom meeting scheduled. But the whole city, as far as the whole city going out, I think did that happen once this entire year?
Yeah, and that was like the whole country for a while.
Right.
Like there was a major issue, but it was, again, a few hours.
Right.
And if you do have a Zoom meeting, you have a cell phone with data and a battery pack. Like, these are not impossible challenges.
And the internet, I found, so a lot of people ask about that. There's a multitude of choices for internet here, and they're all prices that you would never get in the States, for example.
It's so affordable.
I pay 84 euros a year, and my modem was 40 when I joined the thing. And I'm in my second full year of this plan. I thought for sure it would jump up the next. No, they charged me the 84 this year as well for the whole year. And I have high-speed internet.
Yeah, I think we pay a little more than that. I think we pay like 15 or 16 euros a month.
Okay.
For fiber, like 300 up and down, like very high quality.
I have to say also, I don't know if do you guys pay electric and water here?
Yeah.
Okay, so my apartment is 50 square meters. You can look that up and convert that to square footage, because I don't know. But it's a 1-bedroom apartment, not teeny. My electric bill, the most it's ever been in winter, running my heat, for the whole month of February, I think was under 45 euros. My average electric bill is 13 euros a month. My average water bill is roughly the same, 13 euros. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, our electricity bill in Kansas City was always $400 a month. Always.
What the heck?
And I mean, we're in a 3-bedroom place, and our utilities are always well under 100 euros a month. And we use a ton of water. We use like a ton of electricity. And honestly, when we go in to pay a bill, they're like, "Is something broken?" Because it's so high. Like in the clerk's mind.
Yeah, right. Your electric should not be 100. What's going on?
Yeah, it's wild.
Which brings us probably to something these folks would want to hear. You tell me if you agree. But you guys mostly buy in pairs. I'm a single person. So my lunch at a regular restaurant, say I have a drink, like a Coke and lunch, generally runs me under $10.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Maybe even $7 for lunch. Dinner, maybe slightly more, $10 to $12 for a single person. And I don't drink alcohol much. You can find lunch for $1.50.
Oh yeah.
At the Burrick places, you can get a good size or a slice of pizza for $1.50.
Honestly, I would say it's cheaper to eat out here than it is to cook. It is very affordable.
Extremely. You only pay for, and to bring up your point, like in groceries, you only pay a lot, like even to an American maybe, if you're getting imported brands or imported things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want that, craft over the Greek brand, you're going to pay an extra $1.50 or whatever, or $2.
The
So keep that in mind.
350 ml bottle of Tabasco sauce is about 18 euros.
Whew.
So that's another like American imported, very expensive. What haven't we talked about?
Grinder.
You want to talk about Grinder?
No, I do not. Because everything's over in Corfu. I think everybody should come here and check it out for themselves and see what they think. Because some people are going to hate it here.
Right. What do you dislike about Albania or Saranda? Like, what is your biggest challenge living here?
I wouldn't say there's anything I actively dislike here. I mean, I'd have to think really hard about that. Things I wish maybe were different, and probably will be eventually. It's still conservative. It's still very patriarchal here. Okay, so equality has, I think, some way to go. As a foreign woman, you're entirely safe here. I want to stress that. Okay,
Super.
You're not gonna. This is not other places where you're gonna get pinched and poked or anything like that, or even catcalled. Unless, I mean, I have heard of some young, pretty women being stared at and catcalled. I've never actually seen this happen, like on the promenade or anything, but I have heard.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. Every woman I talk to is like, "This is the safest place I've ever traveled."
Right.
I guess I would say though, like if you go into some of the nightclubs, like you will see a division. Like the women are over here and the men are over here in a very kind of fascinating way.
Yeah, almost like a high school dance kind of way. But these people are going to be in their 20s and 30s. We were hinting before, but I want to make this kind of clear. We don't know any out Albanians. At least I don't know anybody that's out and proud that's Albanian.
I have gotten to know a few that have opened up to me, but they generally are very, very hesitant in the beginning to talk about that, and it's still very much alike. I think the few that I have met probably feel a little safer because I'm an American that isn't going to interact with their family, is not going to interact in their like maybe familiar social circle, so they feel more comfortable kind of having a dialogue.
Okay.
But yeah, they're like, you're not going to run into an Albanian on the street that is like openly gay.
Right.
For sure.
They're not going to have a pride sticker on or a button or anything like that.
No.
So that's one thing I hope. I'm not saying Saranda needs a gay pride parade marching down the street, but I'm hoping that the younger generation will feel more comfortable, at least accepting who they are and not being so. I'm assuming worried about their family knowing or whatever. So yeah, less patriarchy, less fear from gay people, locals. Again, you're not going to feel any of that as an immigrant or an expat.
So you bring up an interesting point that I think is worth mentioning. I was talking to another gay guy yesterday, actually, and he was telling a story about meeting this local Albanian woman, and she kind of figured out that he was gay, and like she figured out how to broach this subject and brought it up to him, and he was like openly, yeah, and it was a very new experience for her. Like she was very welcoming and receptive. She just never met any like openly gay person before, but they're friends now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's definitely a level of acceptance. It's just how you approach people here, because like as Westerners and foreigners come to the country, like there are different belief systems that are being introduced or different preferences and things that, people just haven't been exposed to before.
Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that, so I want to make this perfectly clear. I don't think anybody should come here with the thought that they're going to change Albanian society. Things evolve naturally and organically.
Yeah.
And that's the way for things to evolve. Let everything happen organically and naturally. Don't come here thinking that you're going to be a crusader and whatever. Whatever thing that you're thinking of, don't come here and do that.
Yeah, I saw a comment on Reddit the other day. Somebody was like, I'm going, they're just going to have to deal with me. And that's the wrong approach. They don't, you're not going to be very welcomed. And look, this is a very welcoming place. But you need to meet people where they are. Mm-hmm. You need to be respectful of the culture and the values that this society has. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you will be welcome. Mm-hmm. But if you show up and you're like, they're going to change because of me, you're not going to have a great time here.
Anybody watching this can tell that I am not the most manly person in the world. Do I change any of my mannerisms here? No, I do not. I'm me wherever I go.
Yeah.
And again, I've had no problems here in 4 years. And you have to be pretty blind to not notice about me.
I would say the same thing. I think, I wear big earrings and jewelry that's not necessarily traditional in this culture, but people are curious about it. I can't tell you how many local people that have asked me where I got a necklace or something. You're going to be welcomed if you treat people with respect. That's all it is. You don't need to hide who you are necessarily, but just meet people where they are.
The big difference, I think, in the culture that I came from to the culture that I'm in is we've forgotten to give. So the baseline here is treat people with respect. I think it's evolved in other parts of the world where you only get my respect if you've earned my respect. Where it's still here, it's the default. If I don't know you, you're getting my respect until you don't deserve my respect.
That's a really good point. I 100% agree with that.
Okay. You better.
Paul, thank you. I think this has been an awesome interview. I really hope this helps you guys as viewers watching this. Please reach out with questions, comments. We answer all of them. And please remember to subscribe, follow along for more stories like this. We are trying to bring new expat interviews every week. We are trying to really bring a realistic perspective to life in Albania, not just here's what it's like to vacation here for a week. So, thank you guys. Bye.
See ya.